Yes, c'est parti. That means let's go in French. So, hello, welcome to Internet Sheroes. This is a live show dedicated to the female face of the internet. And my name's Sandy Levesque, and I'm here with Kristin Maack of the Globe-Trotting duo. Do you want to say hi, Kristin?
Hi, hi. Thanks for having me here, Sandy. This is fun.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming on. It's funny because Kristen's actually in Europe. She's the first interviewee for this series that's been on the same time zone as me, so really happy. Um, I will just say I actually have planes going overhead, so if it gets too loud, then I apologize in advance. They go really fast, but one's just coming now. So okay. So if you're tuning in for the first time or you've watched some of the other shows, basically Internet Sheroes is a show that I created to just sort of actually find out more about women who are using the internet to work from, wherever they would like to in the world, to share their message and their vision for the world, and what that actually involves, like finding out about women's stories, what they've been doing, how they're doing it. And you'll get a lot out of listening to Kristin's story because she has a really amazing like in the past year, I think, Kristin, you've just experienced so much change, and you're going to be telling us, so I won't give away your whole story. um, but I know that if you're watching and you listen carefully, you'll pick up a lot of useful stuff about how to actually start going from the stage where things are in your mind and the things you'd like to do to actually being, Kristin is talking to me from Holland. She's originally from the States. She's been able to pick up and totally transform her life because she did a lot of things to make that happen. And just to give you a bit of background on myself, I used to be a women's rights campaigner. I actually started out doing interviews with women like this, but at the time it was before Google Hangouts. So it was on, I would go with a dictaphone and I'd literally go and physically meet people and were women, and I would ask them about their jobs, and it was all kinds of women. And the idea was the magazine that we wrote for was given to young women in colleges and schools to show them that they could do anything they wanted. They didn't have to just be secretaries or hairdressers, which a surprisingly high number of women in the UK, where I grew up, do actually go on to do that. Even though you'd think now, 2014, things would be completely different, but still some way to go. So Kristin, just to give you a bit of her story, Kristin's actually someone, just to be transparent, we both work with the same online system. And I first became friends with you, Kristin, about 3 or 4 months ago. And what was so inspiring was that at the time I had just set a target to hit number 10 in the company that we work with. And about a week later, Kristin was on that board in the top 10 multiple times. Her and her husband have done extremely well. They've gone to very high levels in what we do, the online system that we use. Obviously, there's lots out there. We're going to be talking about one in particular, but you can apply what she's going to be sharing to whatever you're doing. But she was in that top 10 on a consistent basis and has been able to leave the States, move to Costa Rica, now is in Europe, and I think this is your first time ever in Europe, isn't it, Kristin?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, and she's just someone who I love watching her on Facebook and YouTube because she has a very sort of like she has a happy vibe to what she does. She has the Traveling Happiness Project. Her videos are really fun to watch. She's been inspiring a lot of people, and started like myself, which is why I can so relate to your story, Kristin, from scratch. From having no YouTube following, no social media following. And she's built up a considerable following and business that is just a really inspiring thing to have watched. So really happy to have you on the show, Kristin.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention that you were actually a nurse, just like 7 months ago. Is that right?
Yep, 7 months ago I was a nurse.
Yeah. So could you actually just tell us a bit about your life 1 year ago? I'd really love to know, like, what were you doing before you were on the internet?
Yeah, so a year ago, as Sandy said, I was working as a nurse. At that time, I was a nursing supervisor in a large metropolitan hospital, and I was supervising multiple units in a hospital. And I thought it was a job that I was really going to love. I went into nursing because I really liked helping people. And I liked being with people in intimate moments in life, and I always wanted to help people change and become better and become well. But working in the hospital, I quickly developed burnout. It's a very stressful job, and so I started climbing up the ladder. You know, I went from working on the bedside with patients to being a charge nurse, to being an assistant nurse manager, and then finally a nursing supervisor, because I thought the further up I got, the more money I would have and the more freedom I would have to do what I'd always wanted to do, and that was really just travel. I always worked as hard as I could so I could save up money to travel. But I soon realized, you know, the more responsibility you get with having higher paying positions, the less freedom you really do have. And I wasn't really enjoying it. And at the time, my husband had started exploring the online world. And he was encouraging me to get started with him, but it was something I was very unfamiliar with, and that was a big change. And so it was really putting me out of my comfort zone to even really think about it, because it made me feel slightly vulnerable to even think about it, because here you will put yourself online and there's so much exposure then. And that idea kind of frightened me at first. But in May of 2013, my husband actually went to Thailand to be in a reality show with different entrepreneurs who are in the same company that Sandy and I are with. And they were just showcasing their lives and what it means to live another way of life, and really how you can use your vision and your passion and turn it into a profitable business for you. So when he said he was going to Thailand to do this, I wanted to go just because I wanted to go to Thailand. And I did not expect that by going there, I would want to start doing this as well, because I met so many people like me, and I met so many people who were doing what I always wanted to do. They were traveling the world. And they weren't backpacking across the country, staying in hostels and just doing it like on a shoestring budget. They were staying in really nice places and for a long period of time. And it was very inspiring to me, and it really inspired that change in me. And on the flight home, I started blogging. I was like, wow, you know, they're online and they're blogging and they're sharing what they want to do, and I want to do it too. So that's really how it all started. And yeah, that was in May of last year.
That's so recent, and I love how quickly you started to take action once you got clear that that was what you actually wanted to do too.
Yeah.
That's a really good, that's something you notice. The more people you talk to having success in whatever area, the more you notice certain things that all of them do. And quick action, you know, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people procrastinate and spend ages. I'm amazed sometimes. Like, people sometimes join us in what we're doing, and they say to me, I'm so excited, I'm going to do this. And then like a week goes by and nothing's happened. And I'm like, that's a whole 7 days. What were you doing? So I love that you got going when you were flying home. And speaking of planes, there's another one coming over. So Kristin, could you just say, you know, like, what were you working like 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and what kind of hours were you doing at that time?
So the last position I actually had was actually, as far as a nurse goes, it was pretty cush. I was working 4 days a week, and I was able to choose those days and choose my own hours, which is really why I took that position, because before then, you know, I was working always as a nurse 4 days a week, but I would either be working 12-hour shifts, or I would be getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work, or not getting home until about midnight, depending on the shift that I was scheduled. And I got really sick of those hours, so then I took a supervisor position so I could get out of that. But then, you know, like, getting into a role like that, I felt like I was, you know, working towards somebody else's goals. I felt like I was being micromanaged, and then in return, I had to micromanage others.
Yeah, it's like being like a cog in a wheel that you don't like the way the wheel is turning.
Right.
But your job is to be that wheel. I know how that feels. And how much holiday time did you get at that point, Kristin?
I would say I would get about 3 weeks a year.
Okay. And until you started, you packed up and left your home like 7 months ago. How much had you traveled out of the States?
I had done the trip with my husband to Thailand. When I was in nursing school, I actually had gone to China for a month, just because any opportunity to travel, I always took.
Yeah.
And most of my travel before then had been typical things that people in the States do, a weekend in Mexico or the Bahamas, things like that. That's a typical
Yeah.
thing to do in the States, and at an all-inclusive resort where you don't really experience much culture.
Yeah, right. Oh, and so what does a typical day look like for you now? Like, would you mind like just sharing, just like
Yeah.
I know it probably doesn't, it's not the same every day, which is the whole point of what of working from your laptop. But like, kind of, can you give us a rough idea?
Yeah, yes, definitely. With travel, it does change a little bit with your time zones and where your clients are located, but usually I get up in the morning, I go for a run, and then I come home. I like to meditate for a little bit, take a shower. I always read every day, at least 10 pages of a book that's either working on my personal development or increasing my knowledge of what I'm trying to apply online at the time. Have a cup of coffee, and then I start doing some income producing activities.
Cool. And for people who might be like, well, what's an income producing activity? Like, what do you actually do? Because sometimes I think women, and anyone, but this is specifically for women, this show, don't really understand what we actually do, like on a daily basis. Like, I have a fair idea. So what does that, when you're working on your stuff, what does it actually look like?
Sure, it could be different for people working online depending on what their strategy is. My
Yeah.
husband and I really focus on paid marketing. We like to have fast results. So usually our income producing activities are tweaking our ads that we have running, looking along the funnel that we have where we can make improvements, things that we should stop or ramp up, emailing our list of people who are interested in our business. We usually do a video or two every day to put out to our list or to publish on our blog. And then we also connect with people on Facebook every day. People are constantly messaging us. They want to know how we're able to travel the world and how we're able to do what we do. And so we try to help, clear up any confusion for people.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks it down. And just for people wondering, like a funnel, Kristin mentioned, a funnel is just a process online. It's like the equivalent of when you go into a shop, a bricks and mortar shop. You walk through the door, you look around at the products, and then you might go and try something on. You might go and buy it. You might just walk out again. A funnel is a little bit like the systems you can put in place on the internet to have that set up. Because otherwise, if you don't, people just come to whatever you're doing and then bounce off again. So, and some of you might already know that, but I just thought I'd clear that up in case anyone's like, well, what's a funnel? She's cooking. Like, that sounds a little bit strange. And so, does that take up all of your day, Kristin, or then do you go out, do you do other stuff as well, or afterwards?
Yeah, definitely. Then we go out and do stuff, and it really depends on where we are, and that's one of the wonderful things about traveling the world is you're constantly experiencing new things. So, yeah, yesterday, that was exactly what we did in the morning, and then since we are in Holland, the World Cup is going on, so yesterday evening we spent that going out and experiencing what culture is like here during a World Cup game, which is really quite exciting because in the States it's not as popular, and here people just really go wild, so it was a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah, and I love it because I've been seeing pictures from you on Facebook of you on like boats and like signs of saying don't bring in bananas and like
Yeah.
it's and going hiking. Like it looks like to me anyway, like watching on Facebook that you do a lot of stuff, which is one of the cool things about not having a business where it's so linear, where you have to exchange your time against a specific income. Like you do stuff that will keep working for you no matter what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, and it is one of the cool things too about being able to bring your business with you everywhere because before when I would go on vacation, I would get to a place and every single day is planned out and you're trying so hard to hit up as many tourist attractions as possible, and I do not do that anymore now. I'm actually immersing myself into a culture and really feeling what it's like to be somewhere. Adam and I have a goal of being at a location for at least a month, at the shortest time possible. We would prefer to be places for 3 months at a time, just so we can really feel what it's like to be there.
Yeah, yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it makes a big difference. Like um you'll actually get a much more of a sense of what life is like, and make friends and like do all of the fun stuff that when you're just sort of rushing around. And it's like you have a different energy as well, because I can just sense it talking to you. You know, like sometimes when people are traveling, like the point you made earlier, often people think traveling the world means you have to do it on a budget, you have to be broke, you have to watch every penny, you have to squeeze every bit you can out of every minute. And what I love about the way that you guys are doing it is it's just so relaxed, you know, and you're actually almost being paid to take holidays, because the way that you do your marketing, your lifestyle is very much part of the business, isn't it?
It is. It is. And when you travel like this, it's really no different than living at home. I mean, rent is pretty much, it's close to the same everywhere. We rent out apartments or condos for a month at a time. Our rent here is the same as it was when we were home. And when you are somewhere for an extended period of time, you are going to go to the grocery store and you are going to go out to eat just like you would regardless of where you lived. So it isn't really, it's not any more expensive to travel the world when you do it this way than it is to live wherever home was before.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why it might sound funny, you know, someone might be thinking, well, why are you asking her about her typical day? But I know for me personally, and I know a lot of people are like this, it's nice just to get like an insight into what people actually do, because when you you know, like when you don't know many people who've done this, you know, who are actually living it, like Kristin is literally in Amsterdam right now, and you're from Massachusetts, is that right?
Minnesota.
Oh God, sorry. Okay.
No, that's right.
The two M's. And so I'm actually curious, like when you and Adam were starting, like did you I guess he started first. Like, what did he do to get started? Like, do you know? Did you watch that process closely, or was it was he kind of doing his own thing in the evenings, and you couldn't really see what was going on?
Well, it really all started actually when Adam read the book Think and Grow Rich. Or no, not Think and Grow Rich, sorry, the 4-Hour Work Week. Adam read the 4-Hour Work Week once, and after he read that, he knew that life did not have to be us going to work for 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. He knew that that was totally just something that has been created. And so he was bound and determined to find a way for us to live a life where we don't have to work so hard and we can do what we want to do and inspire others to do the same thing in the process. But the way he started to make money, or try to make money online, I wasn't really into. He started dabbling into different network marketing companies, and I wasn't passionate about the products. So for me, I really couldn't step behind something that I wasn't passionate about. He was promoting like vitamins and different like laundry detergents, silver coins at one point, and I was like, I am not going to do this. And I remember one company, like he wanted us to write down the list of friends and family who might want to do this, and I was absolutely not. I'm not going to do this. I don't want my friends and family to think that I'm going to pitch them every time I come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I watched that happen, and I supported it because I thought, well, if it works, that would be really cool. But it wasn't something I wanted to do. But then, yeah, once I realized the potential behind being able to market online and to inspire people with your vision and your passion, I really stood behind that, and that really made sense to me.
Yeah, and I think also something that is applicable there is that you stopped, well, like the kind of the methods that Adam was using in the beginning, which is actually what is taught by so many network marketing companies, is to try and you have something and you're trying to like get other people to like it, And I know that what you do now is much more about, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and if you would like to, then get in touch with us. You know, like you're just going out there living your life and then attracting people who would like to benefit from what you've learned and what you know.
Right. It's not so consumer driven. I feel like with a lot of network marketing companies, it is very much a consumer driven business where you're trying to tell people to buy a product, and people don't like to be told to buy. People like to be inspired to make a buying decision, but they don't want to be told they should buy something. And what I like about this is it's for people who are looking to build a business, and for people who are looking to explore their vision, their passion, their own way of life. And so it's very different, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. Because I almost feel like someone said to me recently that they see what they do as, you know, like you're kind of a detective, or I'm just going to explain the way I understand it. I feel like sometimes Trinity in the Matrix, you know, when they're going around looking for people that want out of the Matrix, and they find Neo, the Keanu Reeves, and he's been asking questions, which is why they've sort of found him. You know, when you look at your marketing like that, it makes it so different to how a lot of people see marketing, which is where you're just trying to like you just said, you're trying to get someone to buy something and everything's about your thing. Whereas when you see what you're doing as a huge solution, and this is a marketing technique you can apply to anything for everyone watching this or in the future, you know, if you see what you're doing as something that other people literally are, you know, crying out for, then when you share it or you speak about it, you're just making it easier for them to find you. And what you're doing with the paid advertising, that's a great way to sort of accelerate that process. I would say like, what, 1,000-fold?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But people do it organically too. I know the team that you're very much aligned with does a lot of organic way to build a presence online, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, like you can do both because, yeah, like social media can often be more of a long-term process, which I think is important to understand because I actually didn't really get that when I started. I just followed what I'd seen people doing, and for a while I was like, why is it taking so long for me to have anyone, you know, really getting excited about what I do? And it took me a while to realize that, like you just said, that's more organic. So it grows, and then suddenly it just goes. But paid advertising is a great way to actually just sort of make that process go a lot faster. And you can do both side by side because you also do a lot of videos, don't you, Kristin?
I do. And when I first started doing video, it was really kind of scary for me because I had never done that before. And I was nervous about the idea of shooting a video and putting it on Facebook and just wondering, what are people going to think of this?
Yeah.
And that's how I actually found Sandy. When my husband and I had announced that we were going to quit our jobs to travel the world, I thought, okay, I really got to figure this out now because we had some success at that point, but not a whole lot. And so I really knew that I had to really put my all into it. So I went online and I Googled travel blogger video, and I found a video of Sandy's. And I had no idea who you were, Sandy. And it wasn't even, I mean, honestly, like, it wasn't the most, like, compelling video or anything. It was you packing up a car with, I think, Chico, and just driving to a new place you were going to live, and you stopped at a castle or something. And I just thought it was so cool. I was like, well, here is a girl doing exactly what I want to do. She's just shooting video about her travels. So I scrolled down and I clicked the link below the video, and I saw that we were both independent affiliates for the same company. That was so cool to me. You were one of the first people I ever modeled after.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
That was very cool
to hear that. Because that's what I love is that, you know, whenever you take a step out of your comfort zone, it's like I see it as, you know, like when people are hiking up a mountain and someone's like in the snow or something, you know how it can be really slippery and you don't want to like tread on a loose rock that might fall or something. So when someone's walked before you can just kind of put your feet in and you know that path is going to work. Well, to me, when people are making videos, are blogging, and are kind of going out the norm, you know, like the normal way of doing things on this planet, which is to sort of do your own thing, don't, you know, mind your own business, don't talk about yourself too much. You know, when you sort of step out of that, you're like one of those hikers that's making that path, and other people can kind of go up the path quicker because you've already started to take steps.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me so happy to hear you saying that, because when you know, when I had someone do that for me. You know, I watched someone's videos a lot, and I began to model him. And it's insane to me now to think that I'm inspiring other people, because when I started, I remember I would have like 5 people watching, and I would just wonder, why am I doing this? But I felt kind of urged to do it. And so when you made your first video, did you have anyone kind of holding your hand, as it were? You know, like, was Adam supporting you, or did you do anything in particular to sort of get over that initial moment where you're like, oh God, I'm going to really publish this?
Adam, I mean, of course, supported it. He didn't really help me with it. I didn't know what to do when I first started doing video, because here I was trying to be an online marketer who knew nothing about marketing. Because up until that point, it was Adam creating all of our success. So this is the great thing about having an awesome community that we're a part of. I found people online who I knew had success with video. Do you know Layla Black? Yes, of course you do, right? She was doing a 30-day video challenge, and somebody invited me into her 30-day video challenge. And so those videos gave me a topic for every day. And every day somebody would post the video that they had done, so you had something to model after. And that's how I really started getting involved in video.
That's such a great idea. Ah,
yeah.
I love that.
But I didn't particularly like it because the topics weren't always things that I wanted to talk about. But it really forced me out of my comfort zone, and it really forced me to start doing it. And it's actually crazy. Last week, somebody found me online who I had gone to school with, and they saw one of the very first videos that I had done in that challenge that I was so embarrassed to put online, and she messaged me and said, Kristin, I don't know how I found this video. It's so cool. Keep on doing what you're doing. I love this. Oh. And that was something that I just was so embarrassed about.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you never know who is going to find what you do, how they're going to find it, and how they're going to respond to it. It's really cool.
Oh, I love that. That's so, and that just, you hear so many stories like that. I think people underestimate sometimes how crazy it is with the internet, how you can just put something out there and then 6 months later someone can come up to you even in the streets and be like, oh my God, are you on YouTube? Like, yeah.
Right. My first Empower Network event that I went to, somebody pulled me aside and they said, you're that nurse that's quitting her job to travel the world. And I was just blown away. How did you know that? Because I hadn't done many videos up until that point. So it really is amazing how quickly it can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. And so when you were starting to really be very public about what you were doing, did you and Adam have people that were kind of doubting what you were doing, you know, like trying to convince you not to, or was it very sort of, were you just kind of unstoppable and you knew you were going to do it anyway?
We were unstoppable, and we did have people that doubted us, but nobody tried to convince us not to do it. I don't ever recall having that, but definitely I know that people doubted us.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter because we knew it would work. And it wasn't even that we had belief in faith, but we were certain that it would work. And we knew the best way for this to work was to really get out of our comfort zone and do something completely different and completely new. And honestly, when we left to go to Costa Rica just 6.5 months ago, we had a little success, but not much. We didn't really save much money. We went to Costa Rica with a few $1,000s. And that really just like doing it, just setting the intention and actually doing it is what created us being able to have success and continuing to travel. And since then we've had consistently now, the last 3 months we've had $10,000 months.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah. And I mean,
oh, yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And we should probably say, because we're talking about
Income
money.
disclaimer. Our
It's like
results aren't typical, but what we did isn't typical either. That's not
exactly.
typical.
But I'm glad you mentioned that because that's important for people to know. You know that if you're looking to do this, you have to be willing to receive money because I see a lot of people are that are putting themselves out there on YouTube, and I used to do this too. And you don't care about the money, but you're then not creating any ways to be paid. And people kind of have this weird idea that if you just put videos on YouTube, you'll get paid by YouTube. Like I've literally had people asking me about this, or they think the ads are really well paid. And the thing is that I have views on my channel of over 12,000 people watching every single month, and I make about 10 cents a month from YouTube. It's, and so you have to if you want to do this in a sustainable way where you're actually be able to live from it, you have to find ways to make that possible. Use systems. This is why we both use the system that we use, because it allows you to do that without having to do everything from scratch.
Exactly. And there's high ticket items, so you can actually earn, a decent commission off of little work.
Yeah, that's important because otherwise you're just kind of I've had people asking me if I want to do things on eBay or Amazon. It just doesn't appeal because it's like you were saying before, if you it's hard to get excited about something like a magnet or a water purifier unless you're like a huge health freak, I guess. Or you what was it you just said there?
The
Oh,
I don't know.
a mind blip. A mind blip. No, you didn't actually. I was just thinking of a different product. But when I mean, the things that we market they actually teach you how to use online systems and how to use the internet. So it's more like learning skills, which I think is a bit more useful to people, and you can get more inspired about seeing people actually learn those skills than you can about them having nice skincare.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's really cool too because it just creates this community, and you watch people grow and you watch people evolve, and you see people from the moment that they first start out to really stepping into their power and really developing and becoming a leader. And it's really fun to watch that happen.
Yeah, it's like watching them become like Neo. You know when in The Matrix, uh, Mr. Anderson or whatever his name is, he goes from being that kind of guy in the cubicle to becoming kick-ass Neo and like flying, and it's like watching people do more of that, which sounds cheesy, but it's kind of true. And just also, I was wondering, Kristen, before we start to finish, when you're like, if someone hasn't started anything online yet, or has started but isn't seeing any kind of results, like you said something very important earlier, that you just chose to really go give it your all, was actually the words you used, and to just go anyway. Like you just decided to move to Costa Rica, even though everything wasn't perfect at that point to do it. What would be, like, did you find that the strategies you needed kind of fell into place after that point more than they had before? Or, what kind of happened when you got to Costa Rica?
By going to Costa Rica, I was doing something that everybody else wasn't doing, and I think that's really important for people when they start out, because when people start out, they're in a learner mode, and naturally you want to be a leader and you don't know how to do that, and so they just tend to follow what everybody else is doing. But really, you want to set yourself apart in some way, and you want to be able to give yourself something that's unique about you, and that makes you independent. So it's really important to do something different, and that's what Costa Rica allowed us to do, was to set ourselves apart and to really just to grow on what we were doing, which was traveling the world, and to use that as a way to make us independent. And I think Sandy froze up here, so let me just see if I can figure out how to get her back on. This is one thing that happens sometimes when you do Hangouts online and you're in different parts of the world. So I'm just going to send her a message quick on Facebook. Well, anyways, while we're waiting for Sandy to get back on, yeah, if you're just starting out online, I think it's really important to know that it's okay to be a learner. And once you actually learn something that works for you, that puts you as a leader. You all of a sudden you know something that somebody else might want to learn and that somebody else doesn't know, because everybody has been where you are, and everybody who's going to join you will be where you are. So you can go from being a learner to a leader very easily. But the important thing is to set yourself apart in some way and to do something different and not just do the typical thing. So it's a really important thing to know when you're just starting out. And as soon as you start doing things that are different, that level of anxiety is going to go down and your level of mastery is going to increase. And so really just embrace that. And once you start to feel confident about what you're doing, and once you really start to feel like that leader and your inner voice and that true power within you coming out, it's really important to embrace that and to just go for it and to let yourself grow. And that's really the advice that I would give for people who are just starting out. So let me just quick go back here and see if I can see if Sandy's online again. But I don't see her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this. And for those of you watching, thank you so much for coming and watching. I'm really excited that I actually had the opportunity to be here with Sandy today. And if any of you have any questions about what Sandy and I do, feel free to message us. You can hit us up on Facebook. You've received an email from us, and you can chat with us there and get a conversation going. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you all for coming, and have a great day.
Oh, hi. I hope that you can see this. I'm going to see if I can get Kristin back. Having some technical issues here. Uh, if there's a few people watching this live, if you can see me, could you just say yes in the Q&A? I'd appreciate that. Oh, there's Kristin. Okay. Hey, Kristin. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. I had actually just tried to finish it up and end it too.
Ah, yeah. It's we have a strange thing with the Wi-Fi here. It's really odd with Macs, so it just kind of randomly cuts the internet at some points.
It happens. That's one of the things about always being somewhere new, is you never quite know how the Wi-Fi is going to be.
Exactly, and you just have to have the entrepreneurial spirit and just keep going. So you're probably talking to yourself. So I don't know if you remember what, I mean, we don't have much time left, but maybe do you just want to quickly say what you were saying when it cut? Like,
yeah, well, it actually stayed on. So I was really just talking about what you do when you're a learner and you're in the beginning and you really want to go for it. And really what I was telling people is just to not do what's common and to try to find a way to set yourself apart. And by doing that, you're really going to find something inside of you. And you're really going to find your inner spirit, your inner voice, and your inner power. And it's important to run with that and to allow yourself to really feel that power and just show it and share that with the world.
oh, I love that. Yeah.
And I think one other thing that is important too is to choose your mentors wisely. because modeling after people is an important step, and you want to make sure that whoever you're modeling after is somebody that you want to be like. I know when I first started out, I tried modeling after different people who I thought were cool and fun and kind of edgy, but it really wasn't me. And so I felt like I was backpedaling and always starting over again. So choose your role models and your mentors wisely, because one day you're going to be a hero for somebody, and it's really cool when that happens.
Exactly, because you now have people that are inspired by you, Kristin, and like following what you're doing, like many people in fact all over the world, and joining what you're doing too. So if I can just ask you 2 more questions and then we can finish up.
Perfect.
So these are kind of not so much linked to the internet, but I love just finding this out about people, and it's kind of springing it on you. Can you dance a Zumba dance? No, I'm joking. Okay. What's the kindest thing that anyone has done for you? Like, is there anything that springs to mind when I ask you that? Like, kindest thing.
I would say the kindest thing are compliments that I've gotten so far doing this, because doing this has really put me out of my comfort zone, and you're doing it alone sometimes, you know, you kind of feel like you're all alone doing this, and you're wondering if anybody sees you, if anybody's watching. And when random people send you compliments and words of encouragement, and they let you know that you've been somebody that has inspired them and inspired change in their life, I can't begin to explain how wonderful that feels. And I think those compliments and kind words are the kindest things that I've had happen to me.
Cool, thank you. Just got a plane going overhead now. So this is we're both traveling, so I guess this is like to be expected.
Are you in Lisbon?
Not yet. I'm en route. I'm like halfway. I crossed from southwest France. I was near the Italian border with France, in the French Riviera, and now I'm near the Spanish border. I'm in a place called Toulouse, in southwest France. So I have friends and family here, so I'm staying with some friends, and then heading to Lisbon after America next week. So very excited. And my last, yeah. Hopefully,
so is that where you'll be, is in Lisbon when you're staying in Portugal?
It's actually about 20 minutes further north. It's because I was going to go there, but I realized I don't want to live in a city. You know, when you start traveling and working from your laptop, you realize you can be so specific about what you actually like. And so I realized I don't enjoy living in concrete jungle. I grew up in it and lived in central London. But this past year, since I left, since I began, you know, traveling too, I've been living in much more, you know, like right now I'm in a garden. I've been out in the countryside. So I found somewhere that's in between the two. It's not too far away, because I was kind of a bit isolated where I was just the past few months. Now I'm ready to be a bit more sociable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can very much relate with that.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you feel like you just want some time away, and I really wanted to sort of relax a bit and just not have to rush around every day. But now I kind of miss having, you know, seeing people on a regular basis that aren't the postman and the baguette people. Hopefully going to see you and Adam in, it's called Qashqai, where I'm going to be going.
Okay, cool. Yes, we definitely want to make a trip down there and see you.
Cool. And my last question, Kristin, is I'll get it in before the plane comes. What is one change that you would love to see in the world?
One change that I would like to see in the world? I love that question. The one change I would like to see in the world is for people to actually do what makes them happy. So many people go into life getting into jobs or routines, and they're miserable, and they do nothing to change that. And they just sit there and wait for something to happen to them. And one change that I would love to see is the people actually making the conscious decision to choose happiness and to choose to take actions in life that will make them happy.
I love that. And you're a great example of becoming that change, because you're doing literally that. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I love those questions. Those are great ones.
Yeah, I just I wish I'm going to start downloading these videos. This is a quick YouTube tip. If you're doing Google Hangouts, I really recommend that you download the videos afterwards, because I had 5 of these interviews deleted recently, and I always have backups of my videos that I make, but a Hangout is kind of Google has it, so if they delete it, you don't have a copy of it. So I'm going to be downloading this because I asked, actually, Jamie, I think you're good friends with her too, the last episode, and this is going to be a bit boring for people watching, but basically she shared an amazing thing about the kindness question, where one of her kids was crying in a grocery shop, and he had some kind of behavioral issues, and she was just so struggling with it all, and someone just gave her a hug and said, "You're doing a great job." And she started crying, and she was telling me, and I started crying. I was like, oh my God.
That's really cool.
I don't have that video anymore, so for anyone watching who's starting with YouTube or is already doing it, download your Google Hangouts. It will be good. And and I'm going to be doing that with your interview, Kristin. So thank you so much for coming out and for sharing some insights into what you've been up to and how you've been doing it all.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And I think just what people can take away from your story is, you know, you don't have to wait until all your ducks are lined up in a row to make big choices, like moving away and traveling, and that things will fall into place when you do. And also you talked about having, like being willing to go out of your comfort zone. And also the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, which I know a lot of people have probably heard of that, but some people still haven't. I'm amazed when I come across people that don't know it. And also just having someone, I didn't really ask you too much about this, but I can sense that it's been a good thing for you too, to have Adam, you know, like to have someone close to you that supports what you're doing, and like a mastermind buddy.
Mhm. Yeah, it's important to surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and who are going to encourage you to always be a better version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, thank you so much. And if you want to get in touch with Kristin, I shall put her contact details underneath this video. And if you're not using the system that we use and you would like to, then contact either of us to get information about it. And I think that's it, unless there's anything else you want to add, Kristin.
No, that's it. I just want to thank you so much for having me on here. This was a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thank you for bearing with the planes and the technical hitches and my brain blips as well. Cool. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.